The Sorento is Kia's largest SUV, and the improved version of this fourth generation model offers the kind of typically complete package we now expect from the brand. This enhanced design is embellished by electrified engine tech, smarter looks, and more advanced media connectivity. And as before, it sells in the upper part of the SUV D segment, offering more space and 4x4 prowess than cheaper class contenders provide.
There are no mechanical changes with any of the three Sorento powertrains as part of this midterm update. This diesel still offers 190 brake horsepower and 440 Nm of torque, transmitted to the tarmac through an 8-speed auto transmission. Rest to 62 miles an hour occupies 9.7 seconds, and there's a gutsy 440 Nm of torque, so pulling power through the gears is pretty effortless on the way to 124 miles an hour. If you need to tow with your Sorento, you'll need this CRDI version, as its capacity, rated at up to 2,500 kilograms, is vastly better than that of the hybrids, which is presumably why it's been left in the range. As with all Sorentos, there are 4 driving modes: normal, eco, sport and smart, the latter an auto setting. The brand is hoping, though, that a significant number of customers will consider the direct petrol alternative shared with the Santa Fe, a SmartStream HEV hybrid electrified powertrain pairing a 1.6-litre TGDI petrol engine with a 1.49 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion polymer battery pack and a 59 brake horsepower electric motor. The total output produced by this combination is 212 brake horsepower with 367 Nm of torque, and power is sent through a 6-speed auto gearbox via a transmission-mounted electrical device, allowing the full power of the engine and motor to be transferred in parallel with minimal loss of energy. The result is immediacy in acceleration response at any speed, with direct access to available battery power at higher speeds. Rest to 62 miles an hour takes 9.7 seconds, en route to the hybrid limited top speed of 113 miles an hour. As before, the final alternative is the plug-in hybrid petrol variant, which mates the 1.6-litre TGDI petrol engine with an 89 brake horsepower electric motor, generating a total system output of 249 brake horsepower, with the same torque figure as the HEV version. Rest to 62 miles an hour takes 8.8 seconds. But the whole confection still uses a relatively small 13.8 kilowatt-hour battery pack, which is why the WLTP-rated 35-mile pure electric driving range figure now lags some way behind other contenders in this segment. A Skoda Kodiaq IV PHEV, for instance, now goes over 60 miles on battery power, though that can't give you four-wheel drive. Ah yes, four-wheel drive. It's standard on all Sorentos these days, which is quite unusual in a segment where an all-wheel driven powertrain tends only to be available on top engines as an expensive extra. Pressing the drive mode controller between the seats takes you into a terrain menu where you can choose between snow, mud and sand settings. This midterm update has brought quite a different look for this 4th generation Sorento, which is quite important because most of its main competitors are completely new designs rather than merely updated ones. It's certainly the most striking Sorento we've seen yet. The main model update changes are all here at the front, which now draws its inspiration from the look of Kia's EV9 large electric SUV. This includes new vertical headlights, which above base trim gain this distinctive small cube design. Plus there's a revised 3D mesh gloss black radiator grille. Quite a lot's new then for a midterm update. Has Kia been equally busy inside? Well, yes, the centre monitor and instrument binnacle screens are no longer separated. In fact, there's now no binnacle at all, just this square double screen panel on top of the dash, which towards your left incorporates a considerably larger 12.3-inch infotainment display. The centre console's completely different too, the ugly, boxy twin middle vents that used to dominate it, replaced by narrow air outlets above the narrow touch panel we first saw in the EV6. Depending on preference, this can show either infotainment functions or climate control. So it's all change. Only the upright corner vents at either end of the dash and the big open compartmentalised centre console remain from before. Right, time to take a seat in the second row. Inside, as usual in a 7-seat SUV, the bench slides back and forth and the backrest reclines, allowing second row folk to prioritise either their leg room or that of those behind. Right, time to take a look in the third row. Now, getting to the rearmost chairs in an SUV of this kind is usually somewhat awkward, but this Kia has one of the best seat sliding mechanisms we've come across. Just press this button on the top of the seat shoulder and it springs forward and tilts out of the way. That relatively high floor height means that, as with most cars in this class, you sit rather with your knees up towards the level of your stomach, but otherwise it's reasonably comfortable back here by class standards, though adults won't want to be confined here for too long. We'll finish with a look at the boot. You get a couple of tie downs and bag hooks, but there's not space for much beneath the floor. Much of the time you're going to want to tug on the pull straps on the back of these third row chairs and fold them into the floor, which frees up 616 litres of space in this diesel model. It's 608 litres with the HEV and 604 with the PHEV. If you need more room, the second row seating can be folded from the boot area via these right-hand cargo sidewall buttons, though reinstating those chairs has to be done manually from the side doors in the usual way. Anyway, once everything's flat, you get up to 2,011 litres of space with this diesel version. It's 1,996 with the self-charging hybrid and 1,988 litres with the PHEV. Let's get on to questions of efficiency. We can't help feeling that it's the old 2.2 litre CRDI diesel engine that still suits this Sorento best. And we're going to enjoy it while we can, because it probably won't reappear in the next generation version of this car, if this model's Hyundai Santa Fe cousin is any guide. With the Eco Drive mode permanently engaged, it returns up to 43.5 mpg combined and 170 grams per kilometre of CO2, or 42.8 mpg and 173 grams per kilometre if you avoid base trim, as we have. You won't do much better on fuel by opting for the 1.6 litre T GDI petrol hybrid engine. That manages up to 42.2 mpg. But as you'd hope with its continuously variable valve duration technology, that HEV version's considerably cleaner, up to 153 grams per kilometre of CO2. If you've really an eye for the bottom line though and can afford a higher asking price, the plug-in hybrid petrol version will appeal, with its 13.8 kilowatt-hour battery pack allowing for a 35 to 40 mile all electrified driving range. It's more like around 27 miles in the real world. You'd be unlikely to ever replicate the claimed 176.6 mpg combined cycle fuel figure, but the claimed 37 gram per kilometre CO2 reading should keep your BIK tax bill down, though that's not particularly good for a PHEV model these days. Charging takes 3 hours, 25 minutes from a 7.4 kilowatt garage wall box, or 5 hours from a domestic socket. The improved version of this fourth generation Sorento tells us a lot about the way Kia is developing as a brand. It undercuts its Hyundai Santa Fe design stablemate substantially on price, and if, as might very well be the case, you insist on having four-wheel drive in a family SUV of this sort, many of the apparently obvious mainstream alternatives in this class begin to look compromised and quite expensive. If that drives you towards the much pricier Land Rover and German branded models you might be tempted by in this segment, then this revised model's extra polish and cleverness make it a far more credible alternative than this MQ4 series design was before. As ever with this car, while those familiar with the Amalfi Coast might still feel this Sorento to be lacking an R, a glance at the spec sheet doesn't immediately suggest it to be lacking much else. In short then, for all kinds of reasons, this is now a contender you might really like, rather than merely one that would be very handy to have. The kind of SUV that might surprise you, as increasingly modern Kias are tending to do.